Yo, what's up guys, hope you guys are doing good. So today we are going to see what if Sakura tried to kill Naruto part 1. Hope you will enjoy this video, so before we start please like the video and subscribe to our channel and hit bell notification, it motivates me to upload more fanfics for my lovely audience. So let's get started. Three figures sat in a darkened room one late summer evening, with a lamp being the only source of light. One appeared to be a young woman no older than perhaps 12. Her face could not be seen, but one could feel a hardened mindset around her. The other two, sitting directly across from her, appeared to be in their late 60s or older 70s. Not much could be seen of the elderly group's features, mostly due to the lack of light, but one could make out a pair of glasses and a bun hairstyle with an extended seban in the hair of what appeared to be the female of the pair. "You know what you must do, child?" asked what appeared to be the only male of the group of three. He sat in a chair facing the two other figures in the room, sounding like a general informing a private of his or her mission. The youngest member of the room stared back at the two elderly people in front of her. "Yes, I do. I must kill Naruto Uzumaki. He is a threat that must be eliminated. His presence will only endanger the village as a whole. It will be done. And in exchange, we will guarantee you a place as the wife of one of the most prestigious clans in Konohagakure no Sato when the time comes." The elderly woman smiled, which betrayed the rather sinister nature of her request. A smile came from the third member's pink lips. "Consider it done." With that, the youngest member left the room. "Have we done the right thing?" the elderly woman asked. "It is for the good of Konoha. There are simply too many risks involving the boy. If he survives, Konoha will become a major target for anyone looking for his power. This is for the best," the elderly man stated. Little did anyone realize that this plot against one young man would change the village forever. It was a typical sunny day in Konohagakure no Sato. Well, typical for most. For the recently graduated genin, it was test day. That's right. Apparently, there was a second test that none of the students were aware of. So, today, they were each at the mercy of their Jonin sensei. Currently, one team of genin was hiding inconspicuously amongst a cluster of trees that made up the barrier surrounding the third training ground. The first, and easily the tallest, of the three young hopefuls was a young man with a pale complexion. Not much could be seen of the young man, as he wore a pair of round, black sunglasses to cover his brown eyes and a sea-green coat with a high collar to obscure the rest of his features. Completing the youth's ensemble was a pair of brown shinobi slacks with a kunai pouch tied around his right leg, a pair of black shinobi sandals, and a hitai, or forehead protector, with a blue cloth tied around his bushy brown hair. His name was Shino Aburame. He was the heir to the Aburame clan, a clan specializing in the hidden techniques of using kikaichu, or destruction bugs. The only other male in the group was easily recognized as an Inuzuka. He had a bushel of messy brown hair, thin eyes with vertical canine-like slits, claw-like nails, and sharp canine teeth. The red triangular tattoos resting on his cheeks were a dead giveaway of his lineage. His uniform consisted of a set of grayish-brown pants, a gray parka-style coat with black fur, and a hitai with a blue cloth. His name was Kiba. Perched on top of his head was a small white dog with brown ears named Akamaru. Kiba was the son of the Inuzuka matriarch, Sume Inuzuka, with a specialty in collaboration jutsu with his canine companion. Rounding out the three genin was a shy young girl with pale lavender eyes. Her hair was a midnight blue, with a pair of bangs framing her face. Her fair skin tone seemed to simply add to her appearance. Her uniform was a combination of a beige hoodie with the fiery symbol of the Hyuga clan on the upper right and left sleeves, a black undershirt with light chain mail reinforcement, blue shinobi sandals, and navy blue pants. Her hitai, like her comrades, was blue. However, unlike the rest, she wore hers around her neck. She was Hinata Hyuga, current heiress to the Hyuga clan. Like the rest of her clansmen, she possessed the Byakugan, the dojutsu Kekkei Genkei the clan is infamous for. With it, she not only had a near 360 field of vision, she can also see the chakra pathways that would be invisible to anyone else. This enhanced sight allows the members of the Hyuga clan to utilize Jukin, or the gentle fist, style of taijutsu. The style allows the user to hit tenketsu, or chakra points, throughout the body, and effectively prevents a person from using chakra and, in some cases, can cause organ failure and loss of mobility. Supervising the three genin was their jonin instructor, Kurenai Yuhi. Kurenai was a relatively new jonin, having only recently been promoted. Her uniform, unlike the vast majority of her colleagues, was made up of what appeared to be black and white strips of cloth, with wraps covering some of her body, including her arms. Kurenai wore a hitai with a black cloth. Her eyes were a piercing red with a black ring around the pupil. Even her long hair, a messy black, seemed to scream for attention. Despite this, she was a calm and collective individual. Her specialty was in genjutsu. The four-man cell was currently hiding as part of their test. As a tracking team, part of their abilities would stem from being able to gather information about a target without being spotted. Not every tracked target could simply be captured as soon as it was tracked down, after all. So, Kurenai gave Team 8 this test. Spy on a team and gather as much information about them as possible. The goal was to be able to gather the information without being caught, similar to how you would need to follow a target without it catching on and running away. It was her team's choice to try and gather reconnaissance on the team currently occupying Training Grounds 3. The team in question was in the middle of its own training session. The man that was obviously giving the test to the newly minted genin team was a man with white hair that seemed to defy the known laws of gravity. It seemed that the genin didn't recognize their teacher. But, to anyone else, they would recognize the unusual man as the copycat nin, Kakashi Hatake. Kakashi almost always wore his uniform, which was the standard issue of most jonin in the village, as well as metal-plated gloves and a mask that covers his face from the eye level down. His black hitai covered his left eye, sometimes earning him the nickname of Cyclops. Right now, he was in the middle of yet another test to genin hopefuls. The three in front of him, however, were not living up to the expectations that he hoped for in the beginning. First was the last of the Uchiha clan, Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke was somewhat dressed like a ninja, with black sandals, a blue shirt with a high collar and the Uchiha fan on the back, a blue hitai and tan shorts. In a way, Sasuke was becoming a greater disappointment than what most of the village would have thought. Granted, he showed a wide display of advanced tactics and an impressive display of jutsu. He even managed to get closer to actually getting a bell than his teammates, the key word being, he. Not once did Sasuke ever ask for his teammates' help. Kakashi had at least hoped that the Rookie of the Year would have the brains to figure out the point of the test. Apparently, his overinflated ego was getting the better of him. In a way, Sasuke reminded Kakashi of him when Kakashi was his age. Hopefully, Kakashi could work that out of Sasuke. That is, if he managed to actually pass the test. Then there was the dead last, Naruto Uzumaki. In almost every sense of the word, Naruto was the antithesis of being a ninja. His choice of shinobi apparel, which consisted of an orange jumpsuit with a white collar and blue patches on his shoulders, a pair of orange pants, blue sandals, and a blue hitai, was screaming for attention. He was loud, obnoxious, and charged straight into situations without much thought, if any at all. Not to mention, most of his drive seemed to be centered either on becoming Hokage, getting attention, or trying to win the affections of his pink-haired crush. However, Kakashi knew, at least in part, why Naruto acted the way he did. Being the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox meant that Naruto wasn't treated as fairly as many members of the village. He was shunned by the community, probably was devoid of most of an education in the beginning, and probably had to be the way he was just so that he didn't fall into the depression that almost complete social isolation could bring. Kakashi actually had high hopes for training Naruto, if his vastly large reserves and near unlimited shadow clone army were anything to go by. The kid was practically a blank slate. His skills were mediocre, and his form atrocious, but with any luck, Kakashi could very easily make Naruto into whatever he wanted. It didn't hurt that Naruto looked strikingly similar to his former sensei, the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Then there was the pink-haired girl of the team, Sakura Haruno. She was an enigma to Kakashi. On the one hand, she seemed to be the typical fangirl, a woman who would do anything for her love, Sasuke Uchiha. She wasn't terribly strong, her chakra reserves were pitiful, and she wore attire, which consisted of a red dress, skin-tight green shorts, and a blue hitai that was not as functional as he would have hoped. She just seemed to be showing a demonstration of what she learned at the academy, instead of trying to improve upon it. On the other hand, she had a spark in her eye that unsettled Kakashi slightly. She seemed hardened on the task at hand part of the time, almost like a woman on a mission. He couldn't fathom what was going on. How could she have the mindset of a seasoned veteran one moment, and be a giddy fangirl who faints at the sight of her crush's head the next? Luckily, Kakashi didn't have to wait long for answers. The timer signaling the end of the test sounded, signifying that no one had passed since the bells were still attached to his waist. After recalling his team, he tied Naruto to one of the training posts and decided to put Sasuke in a chokehold. What a disappointment. The last of the Uchiha trying to do everything by himself, a Hokage wannabe running around like a chicken with his head cut off, and a fangirl that seems to be suffering from dissociative identity disorder that will only do what is best for the Uchiha. Well, I suppose it's time to see if I can salvage this team, thought Kakashi. All three of you disappoint me greatly. Not only did none of you pass the test, you didn't even attempt to get the real meaning of the test. What are you talking about, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto yelled from his place on the stump. Shut up, you baka! Screeched Sakura as she slammed her fist into the side of his head. Yeah, you're not making it any easier to listen to Kakashi-sensei. Her inner voice known as Inner Sakura seemed to agree. From his position, all Sasuke could manage was, Kakashi sighed. Simple. This wasn't about getting the bells. This was supposed to be about teamwork. Each of you was supposed to help the other get a bell, not run off to try and win things on your own. I get it, I think. So, we were supposed to work together to get a bell, even if it meant giving up your chance at passing, right? Naruto asked. Exactly, Naruto. Kakashi answered. Wait, how did you figure that out, Naruto no baka? Sakura asked, doubt practically dripping off of her words. Hey, just because I don't get stuff sometimes, Sakura-chan, doesn't mean I am as dumb as Kiba or something. In Team 8's A Hiding Place, Shino was trying his best to keep Kiba restrained. Let me at him. Let me at him. Kiba roared. Kiba-san, we cannot give away our position. Why, do you ask? Because we will fail if we do. Kiba-kun, please stay quiet. Hinata managed to stutter. Alright, but if that dumbass says one more thing about how dumb I am, test or not, I'm kicking his ass. Back with Team 7, Kakashi went into a further explanation of the bell test. The point of the exercise was to see if you would be willing to work together in order to achieve a goal and to see if you would place the needs of your comrades over your own interests. Kakashi then pulled out a kunai and tossed it to Sakura while he pulled another kunai out and held it at Sasuke's neck. For instance, Sakura, kill Naruto or Sasuke dies. Now, if circumstances were different, Sakura would have questioned Kakashi's orders. Killing a comrade was considered to be a capital offense in Konoha, and Kakashi was telling her to commit a capital offense. However, she had a mission to accomplish. Naruto was a threat that needed to be eliminated, and the reward for doing this was too great to pass up. So, with a speed no one was expecting, Sakura took the kunai, and stabbed Naruto, straight through the neck. The world seemed to freeze and the sounds of the outside world seemed to mute themselves. All eyes were on Sakura and what she just did, with the only exception being Naruto, who seemed to be losing focus of the outside world. Before losing consciousness, only one thought ran through his mind. Why? Sakura-chan, why? Kakashi was stunned stupid. He had failed many teams before, but this was the first time anyone actually took his order seriously. Most would have been too flabbergasted to even consider it an option, and yet Sakura had done so without batting an eyelash, like it was normal to be asked to kill a former classmate. He couldn't have even predicted that Sakura would have gone through something like that. True, he saw that she didn't like him, but to kill him. He didn't know quite what to think. Sasuke was astounded. If the situation didn't seem so messed up, he might have just fallen in love with the pink-haired kunoichi in training. He had to admit, seeing her simply follow through with orders like that was rather appealing. That being said, he wasn't sure even he would have killed a fellow comrade simply because he was ordered to. He may not have liked the Dobi, but even Sasuke didn't think he deserved that. Man, Dobi, did you pick the wrong girl to have a crush on? Kiba was at a loss. He may have acted like a jerk most of the time, but he was friends with Naruto. He remembered some of the pranks he pulled with Naruto, along with Shikamaru Nara and Choji Akamichi, on their former sensei, Iruka Umino. Kiba was also aware of Naruto's crush on Sakura. So, for him to see his friend's crush attack, the irony was just a little too much. He couldn't even come up with a wise crack to say. Shino seemed unperturbed, but the raising of his eyebrows in surprise spoke volumes. He was never that close to the blonde, mainly because his insects seemed to have a tension around whenever Naruto was in close quarters. He didn't know why, but something about him didn't agree with his insects. That being said, he could not find the logic in what Sakura just did. She was not crazed, at least as far as he could tell, and Sakura was only truly violent if Naruto did something to Sasuke. But, that was usually followed up by a loud rant by the Pinkett. For her to simply attack Naruto without any remorse defied logic. Kurenai didn't know quite what to think. She had never seen a student so unconcerned about the safety of her teammate. She had read some of the profiles of the students beforehand, so she had an idea of what the graduating class looked like. But, she didn't hear anything about a ruthless killer in the class. She may not have been an elite ninja for very long, but even she thought it was strange that Sakura did this. She turned to see how her other student, whom she thought of as a younger sister, was handling things. Hinata was shocked, abhorred, and terrified. All she could see was the weapon going into the neck of the one person that inspired her the most. She was even starting to develop a crush on the young blonde. His will to never give up, his smile, the way he would stick up for the underdog and boast about becoming Hokage, everything about him inspired the blue-haired girl. Now, he was being stabbed by not only his own teammate, but by his crush. Hinata never was really close to any of the young women her age, primarily because of her own insecurities about her skills and looks, but she never was fond of Sakura. She was the only person who had what Hinata wanted. Hinata didn't know what Naruto saw in Sakura, but whatever it was, she wanted it, if for no other reason than to simply be able to walk at Naruto's side. Now, she may not be able to do that at all. As time seemed to speed back up, she noticed that Sakura had pulled the kunai out of Naruto and was making for another strike. Naruto-kun. That one scream seemed to snap the rest of Team 8 out of its stupefied state and into action. Throwing away all inclinations to remain hidden, they snapped into action, rushing across the field to try and help their comrade. Kiba and Kurenai rushed towards Sasuke and Kakashi, who seemed too stunned to do anything about what was going on, and restrained them. Shino and Hinata made a race to Sakura, who before being incapacitated by Shino delivered 3 more wounds to Naruto, one to the right side of his chest, one to the gut, and one to the left kidney. Hinata quickly went to untie Naruto and try to stop the bleeding. Unfortunately, her knowledge of first aid was limited, and she lacked the expertise to treat all of the wounds. Kurenai-sensei. He's still bleeding. We need to get him to a hospital. Hinata managed to stutter out in her panicked state. Kiba, knock out Sasuke and carry him. Shino, you grab Sakura. I'll grab Naruto. We need to get him medical attention immediately. Kakashi, you better go and get the Hokage. He will need to know what is going on. Kakashi was gone in a poof of smoke, his only thoughts being that he hoped his blonde student would live to see another day. As the group ran towards the hospital, those that were still conscious all prayed to whatever god was watching over them that Naruto would live to see another day. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage of Konoha, was not in a good mood. His day didn't start all that well to begin with. First, he got up this morning to a cold household. Apparently, that rather lazy son of his Asuma Sarutobi forgot to add some extra fuel to the fireplace the previous night before heading to bed. Next, he had to yet again try to reduce the size of the ever-growing pile of paperwork that seemed to be accumulating on his desk. Then he had to, once again, remind Danzo Shimura, head of the currently disbanded Root Division of Anbu, that Naruto was not a weapon and would not be turned into such. Then it was listening to the whining of the village civilian council on matters so trivial an academy student could solve the problem with little thought. The one bright spot so far had was that his grandson, Konohamaru Sarutobi, had barged into his office and asked him to allow him to sign the Sarutobi monkey summoning contract when he was of a proper age. All in all, it was not one of the aging Hokage's best days on record. So when Kakashi Hatake appeared in his office stating that Naruto Uzumaki, a young man that Hiruzen thought of like a grandson, was en route to the hospital with life-threatening injuries, Hiruzen knew that it was going to be a long day. He had a feeling that the staff may or may not put their best effort into his treatment, and justify themselves either by saying that the fox would heal any life-threatening injuries, or that there wasn't enough time to save him, or some other garbage the third really didn't feel like hearing today. It is times like these that make me wonder why I didn't do the sealing myself, thought the third Hokage morosely. It certainly would have made things a lot easier for Naruto. I'm getting too old for this crap. When the third fire shadow entered the slightly large hospital room, he was met with a rather unsettling sight. Sasuke Uchiha was leaning against the wall, rubbing the back of his neck in much the same way one would do so after someone hit him on the neck. Kiba Inuzuka was on the floor petting his canine partner Akamaru, watching and waiting for news about his comrade. Kurenai Yuhi was doing her best to try and comfort one Hinata Hyuga. Rounding out the group was Shino Aburame, who seemed to be standing guard over Sakura Haruno, who happened to be coming back into consciousness. Yes, this most certainly will not be my day. A medical ninja stood in front of the Hokage. Hokage-sama, I have some bad news. Heaving out what he knew was going to be the first of a long string of sighs for the day, the Hokage ordered the medic nin to report. Well, Naruto's injuries seemed to have healed somewhat, but he lost a lot of blood, and... Yes, the Hokage impatiently asked. Well, there's no easy way of saying this. There is nothing physically wrong with him, but his vitals are continuing to drop. Simply put, he is dying. How can that be? If his injuries are healed, shouldn't he be waking up? Asked Kakashi. Ordinarily, that would be the case, the medic told the copycat nin. However, it seems that, for reasons non-medicine related, Naruto has lost the will to live. He, for whatever reason, is refusing to cling onto life. I am sorry. Everyone gave pause to that statement. Naruto was giving up on life. That was about as imaginable as him giving up on ramen. Naruto was the living embodiment of determination. He could become a limbless invalid with nothing but his sense of taste left in him, and he would still be ranting about becoming Hokage. He himself once boasted about it. The idea of someone like him giving up was just unfathomable. After hearing the medic Nin's report, Hinata separated herself from her sensei and was at Naruto's side crying. Trying to keep some form of composure, the Hokage turned to the medic Nin. "It is not your fault. Thank you for doing your best," the third told the medic Nin. The medic Nin bowed to his superior as he left. "Alright, who wants to tell me what the hell happened?" Sarutobi asked, but the tone definitely implied that it was an order, not a request. It was Kurenai that decided to speak up. "Hokage-sama, my team was in the middle of its genin test when this occurred. They were spying on Kakashi's test in order to pass. Their goal was to gather information on another team without them knowing about it. I felt it was the best test for a team that was supposed to specialize in tracking and recon. At any rate, we observed the test given to Team 7. I won't bore you with the details." As he was going into explaining the goal of the test, Kakashi gave an order to Sakura Haruno, which I assume was supposed to be another test. After the order was given, she stabbed Naruto in the neck. While his sensei and other teammate were in a state of shock, my team mobilized to try and get to Naruto, but not before Sakura managed to land 3 more blows to the chest, gut, and kidney, respectively. Sufficient to say, the Hokage was beyond furious. This whole incident was riddled with armature mistakes, sheer stupidity, and betrayal, the likes of which he hadn't seen since he disbanded Root. Noticing the crying Hyuga, the Hokage turned his full attention to the pink-haired member of Team 7. She looked like she was about to make a comment about Naruto's status, but wisely decided to shut her trap when she looked at Hiruzen's face. In a tone that could send chills up even the coldest of hearts, Hiruzen warned her, "I sincerely hope that Naruto lives through this, Haruno-san. For if he dies, so do you." For the first time in her rather short life, Sakura was hoping that Naruto managed to live through this, if for no other reason than to keep her off the chopping block. Naruto tried waking up. For some reason, he was in a lot of pain, particularly in his neck, chest, and abdominal areas. He didn't remember how he got here. Oh, that's right, he thought, Sakura-chan had stabbed him. That must have meant he was dead. He tried to recall what happened right before he blacked out. Then there was someone yelling. There was a couple of blurs that he couldn't focus on. A set of lavender eyes filled with tears, maybe. Then, there was nothing. Slowly, he opened his eyes. There was nothing but white all around him, as far as the eye could see in any direction. That was unusual. He imagined death being more, he didn't know, interesting. There were no people waiting in line, no pearly gates, no flames of hell, no scarier than Orochimaru doing Kabuki Shinigami about ready to devour his soul for all eternity, nothing. So, I'm dead, huh? Naruto stated. Well, I guess I was expecting something a little more special. Man, did I ever screw up. With all of the stuff that stupid Fox did, I was half expecting to end up in the darkest pits of hell just by being associated with it. But, I guess this is just Cammy's version of hell for me. Just me being alone, for all eternity, never knowing my family, never having good friends, never getting married, or being Hokage, or anything. Guess that kinda makes me special, huh? He chuckled with a rather macabre tone. Now, I think Kami-sama would be a little more creative in building a personal hell for someone supposedly so tainted by evil. Don't you think? Naruto turned around and was met face to face with what he could only describe as the most beautiful woman he had ever seen in his short life. She seemed to be of an average height, but had an aura of regality around her. Her long, flowing white robe was tied off with a golden sash, which modestly clung to her figure. A light silver trim and a design of what appeared to be a dove in light gold seemed to be the only ornamentation on the robe itself. Her ebony hair cascaded down reaching the small of her back. Her arms appeared to have a glove of sorts with two golden rings that fit over her middle fingers to stretch the fabric over her delicate hands. The staff she carried was a simple design, platinum in color, a circle placed on top with 6 rings total, 3 hanging off of one side of the staff and 3 on the other, hanging off of the frame, and another small bird statue perched on top of the circle. What caught Naruto's attention though were her eyes. No matter how hard he looked, he couldn't see much about the eyes. It was as if someone had replaced her eyes with a pair of spotlights. If she were in a darkened room, her eyes would probably act like flashlights. Everything about this woman screamed that she was someone to be respected. All Naruto could muster was a weak, Kami-sama. Not quite, young one. To Naruto, even her voice carried with it a tone of authority. I am nowhere near Kami-sama's level, but I am someone that works for Kami-sama. I am what you call a messenger. You can call me Chiyoko. Chiyoko-sama, I mean no disrespect, but where in the hell am I exactly? A confused Naruto inquired. The newly named Chiyoko stifled a small giggle. You are where all souls go when they are sent to us prematurely. I believe you humans refer to it as limbo. It is where all souls go when you are waiting to see if you are to pass over to the other side, or if you are to return to your world. So, I'm not dead. Not exactly, Naruto-kun. Right now, you are just hanging on to life, but you are losing the fight. It would seem that you are losing the will to go on, Chiyoko answered. Naruto stayed silent for a second, then responded. It makes sense, I guess. I really don't know why I still continue on most of the time. My life hasn't really worth living most of the time. Sure, it has nice to have people to talk to sometimes, but for the most part, I just want to know what it was like to no longer feel pain, to no longer feel so alone in my life, to not have my very existence acknowledged simply because of what I carried. Who knows, maybe I just want to go someplace where I might be loved, where I can escape the hateful glares and the hushed tones. Who knows, if I'm lucky, I could even see my parents again, whoever they were, even if they don't want to see me. Maybe, I just want to let it all go. So, are you saying that if there was a reason for you to stay, you would? Chiyoko asked. Or, let me ask you this. Would you continue to fight to live, to continue to carry your burden, to live with the hate and the strife, even if it was painful? For the sake of one person, if just one person cared whether or not you lived or died today, would you change your mind? Maybe. I don't honestly know. I mean, I can probably count all of the people that would truly miss me on my hand, Naruto stated as he held his hand up. Let's see, Iruka-sensei would be sad for a while, but he would probably find a new troublemaker to have ramen with. Tsuki Oji-san and Ayame Ne-chan would probably find a new favorite customer, Konohamaru would probably find a new rival for Hokage, and Oji-san has an entire village to care for. Other than them, I can't think of anyone. Perhaps you have been looking in the wrong direction, eh? Before Naruto could ask what Chiyoko was doing, a small opening in the area appeared, acting as a window. There, before Naruto's eyes, was Hinata, crying over his still form, small tears flowing down her face like a river. He barely knew anything about her, other than she seemed like a shy, dark weirdo and that she stuttered and turned red, a lot. Why would she be crying over someone like him? As if to answer his question, Naruto heard Hinata's quiet voice through the portal. NN Naruto-kun, please don't give up. I don't know what I would do without you in my life. You have been such an inspiration for me, you never gave up on anything. You would always try your hardest on everything you did. You are the strongest person I can know. Without you, everything seems so hopeless. You are a great person, Naruto. So, please don't give up. Please, F for me. Naruto was beside himself. She thought that highly of him. Naruto Uzumaki, the dead last, the village pariah, the demon brat, was her inspiration. How could that be? He just had to tell Hinata that he would be alright. He didn't understand why fully, but it hurt to see Hinata cry over him like that. But, before he could call Hinata out and tell her that he was going to be alright, the portal closed. Well, I suppose we should get going. Wait, what are you talking about? I can't just leave her. Naruto exclaimed. What? I thought you said that no one else cared. Don't you want your pain to end? Don't you want to go somewhere where you could be loved? Don't you want to see your parents? Chiyoko asked. Not if it means breaking Hinata-chan's heart like that. I don't care if I have to fight you for the right, I am not gonna just abandon Hinata-chan like that just for my own selfish reasons. Besides, maybe if I am lucky, when it is my time to go, I can see my family again. Chiyoko smiled. I wonder if he realized that he just called her Hinata-chan. Oh, well, time to break the news to him. Well then, you pass. What? Naruto yelled. You mean this whole thing was a test? Man, I am so sick and tired of tests already. Well, that was the point, Naruto, Chiyoko stated, which had the effect of clamming Naruto up. You see, we don't just give free passes to the land of the living. One must earn the right. You earned yours when you were willing to put the needs of someone else before your own. That was your test. To see if you would still fight, and continue on with the life that Kami-sama has given you, even for the sake of one person. The fact that you still wanted to fight, even when you were reminded that you were going to give up, showed that you had earned the right to continue. Now that you have passed, I shall return you to the living realm. Before she could do so, however, Naruto stopped her. First, Chiyoko-sama, I want to thank you for showing me the errors of my ways. Arigato. You are welcome, Naruto-kun. Second, can I ask what would have happened had I still wanted to go on even if it meant hurting Hinata-chan? Had you decided to continue? Simple, your soul would have committed the sin of pride and greed by being selfish and thinking of your own life instead of the lives of others, and you would have been sent straight to hell. Chiyoko said nonchalantly. Naruto gulped. Okay, then, before you send me back, I have two other questions. She smiled. Ask away. First, do my parents love me? I figure you guys would know, since you probably have seen them. I know I have no right to ask right now who they were, not after the way I have acted, but it would be nice to know if I was loved, Naruto stated, a tear streaking down his whiskered cheek. Yes, your parents love you very much. Kami-sama saw how happy they were when you were born, it is a shame you don't know who they are. For that, you have my sympathies. Thank you. I have one last question. You said that they love me, like they are alive. Does that mean they are still around? Not exactly, Naruto-kun. I cannot go into details, but your father is with the Shinigami right now. As for your mother, she is not among the souls we have seen, and since all souls are recorded by either the Shinigami or Kami-sama, that can only mean that she is still alive somewhere. Perhaps, when you return, you should find the time to see if you can find her. Now, go. I think you have kept a certain someone waiting for a little too long. Arigato again, Chiyoko-sama. Naruto said as he slowly drifted back to his own world. For all that it is worth, Naruto, I hope you are able to turn your life around for the better, Chiyoko stated as she slowly made her way back to heaven. Hinata was continuing to sob over Naruto's body. The idea of Naruto no longer being a part of her life terrified the heiress. He was her beacon in an otherwise cruel world. She wasn't entirely sure if she could manage in a world without Naruto. Just as it seemed that all hope was lost, a shaky hand rose and cupped Hinata's tear-stained cheek. Hinata let out a small gasp, which seemed to snap everyone else in the room to attention. The hand holding her face was calloused, but felt warm, like the gentle rays of the sun beating down on her. She turned to see if it was one of her teammates, but she noticed that the angle was wrong. Her eyes slowly drifted down to the arm that was connected to the hand, and saw that it was indeed Naruto's. Deep, Piercing, half-lidded cobalt orbs met pale lavender globes. A shaky voice escaped his lips in a tone just barely loud enough for the room's occupants to hear. Hin, ta. Not trusting her voice and not quite believing what she was seeing, all Hinata could do was slowly nod her head. She then saw the famous, foxy grin of his creep across his face, and knew without a shadow of a doubt, that this was indeed Naruto, and he was very much alive. Naruto-kun. In a very uncharacteristic manner, Hinata glomped Naruto, hugging him and crying into his hospital gown as if he was her lifeline. Everyone, Sasuke included, let out a collected breath that no one was aware they were holding. Well, I suppose we can thank Kami for that, thought Kakashi. That was too close, was all Sakura could manage. Well, at least the baka wasn't wimpy enough to actually die at the Banshee's hands, thought Kiba. His recovery defies logic. I think there may be more to Naruto than what is on the surface, thought Shino. Thanked Kami-sama. I thought for sure that we would have to put Hinata on suicide watch for a while there, thought Kurenai. Well, looks like the Dobi's luck saved him, thought Sasuke. Looks like your son is certainly full of surprises, Minato? Thought Hiruzen. After 15 minutes of allowing Hinata to get her composure, and to attempt to stay conscious after realizing what she just did, she gave Naruto a glass of water, which he happily accepted. Hiruzen then turned to Naruto. You gave us quite a scare, Naruto-kun. I'm sorry, Gigi. That's all right. If you don't mind, why don't you and the rest of the members of Team 8 stay here while I have a talk with the rest of your team? Okay. Naruto stated hesitantly. Hiruzen smiled, and then turned to face the other occupants in the room with the hardened face of a leader. Kakashi Hatake, Kurenai Yuhi, Sasuke Uchiha, and Sakura Haruno, please follow me. That is an order. With that, the four aforementioned ninja left the room. Sasuke turned to face Naruto before he left. Hey, Dobi. Yeah, Tem, what is it? Naruto asked. Congratulations, you just proved you're slightly stronger than a fangirl. Sasuke smirked, before heading out of the room. The frustrated yell of, Tem, was heard all around Konoha that day. Hiruzen looked at the three shinobi in front of him. He was having Kurenai wait in the hallway outside of his office before he went to talk with her, seeing as how he had different matters to discuss with her. He carefully observed the mindset of everyone in the room. Sasuke seemed to be trying to settle on either being frustrated that he was here, curious as to what was going on, and worried that he was going to be punished for what his team did. Kakashi was acting as professional as possible, although his eyes were similar to those of someone who knew they were about to get grilled by their boss. Sakura didn't even look the Hokage in the eye and seemed to be trying to hold back tears. He wanted to confront Team 7 before he would do anything else on the matter at hand. He listened to Kakashi's report of the test, which made Hiruzen wonder what was going on in Kakashi's mind to make him think that anything concerning the test would have ended well. With a heavy sigh, knowing that this would not be a pleasant affair, the Hokage began his evaluation. I would like to start by saying that I am disappointed in all three of you. Your actions, or lack thereof, nearly cost one young man his life today. Kakashi. Hiruzen turned his full attention to the masked Jonin, who slightly flinched under the scrutinizing glare of his superior officer. I am extremely displeased with the way you handled yourself in this situation. You are a seasoned ninja, for crying out loud. You have handled assassination missions. You were one of our top veteran shinobi during the Third Great Shinobi World War. You have seen more of the horrors of this world than most people nearly twice your age. Yet, despite all of your training and experience, the attack of one 12-year-old genin against her restrained teammate managed to shock you to such an extent that you were unable to assist your charge. Even if you were initially shocked, you should have at least been able to prevent Naruto from being stabbed an additional 3 times. Kakashi made a feeble attempt at defending himself. But Hokage-sama, How was I supposed to know that she was going to attack Naruto? I didn't think that she would have taken my orders seriously. It was a test after all. Then you seriously misread the situation, Kakashi-san. The Hokage pointed out. As a Jonin, you should not have given that kind of an order to a newly minted genin with no field experience. Sakura would not have known if you were giving her a serious order or testing her. Being able to look underneath the underneath is not something someone of her level could have done to the extent that you tried to test her with. The third Hokage frowned when he saw the look on the young Uchiha's face. I would wipe that smirk off your face, Sasuke-kun. You may have the least responsibility of everyone here, but you still are not completely in the clear, either. That is absurd. What did I do? I wasn't the one that stabbed the Dobi. I wasn't the one that gave an order that was supposed to be a test. Besides, why am I even here? It's not like I could have done anything. I was restrained, Sasuke pointed out. True as that may be, Sasuke, you are not without fault here. As the so-called Rookie of the Year, you should have figured out the meaning of the test you were given. Instead, you decided to do things on your own, and risk the well-being of your teammates to meet your own goals. The fact that you froze up when Naruto was stabbed could be expected, but not even struggling to get free of your sensei when you saw the attack continue shows me that you were either not concerned with his well-being, or that you were unable to get over the shock of what happened. In our line of work, those kinds of mentalities will either get you or your allies killed very quickly. In the world of the shinobi, you cannot afford to delay helping your team when they are under attack. Sasuke bowed his head in humiliation. The Hokage had a point. He had been using his teammates as fodder while he tried to pass the test by himself. Even if he did have a goal to reach, he still should have helped his team, if for no other reason than to make sure they didn't hold him back. Not to mention, he and Kakashi were closer to Naruto when Sakura attacked and they should have been able to help him. It was a bit humiliating to realize that another team, who apparently was on the other side of the field, was able to get to Naruto faster than his own teammates. The aging Hokage then turned his full attention to the pink-haired girl in front of him. And you, where do I even begin? Attacking a fellow shinobi with the intent to kill. Stabbing him, not once, not twice, but 4 times. Risking charges of murder for doing so. What in the name of Kami were you thinking? He saw that she was about to cry, but he was not in the mood. Dry your tears, Haruno-san, they will not help you here. Sakura took about 30 seconds to get her composure before answering the Hokage. Hokage-sama, I was told Naruto was a threat to the village and that he would bring people here that would want to harm the village because he was a demon. I was told that, if I killed him, I would be seen as a hero by everyone, and I would be on the list of wives for Sasuke-kun when the time comes to restore his C-clan, she finished. Needless to say, everyone in the room was shocked. Kakashi was wide-eyed at the idea that someone like Sakura would fall for such an obvious ploy. Sasuke was perturbed that someone wanted to marry him off to someone he thought of as weak just to restore his clan, but was more disturbed by the fact that someone wanted his classmate dead. Not to mention, someone thought that the ramen-eating dead last of his class was a demon. What was that about? Hiruzen was horrified. If any of what Sakura said was true, then there were bigger things going on than he realized. If this had merely been her following orders, he could simply strip Kakashi of his rank and force him to retire. If she simply wanted Naruto dead, he could have her executed. But what she claimed happened was true, then not only did someone break his decree concerning Naruto, but someone wanted him dead. He had to find out for sure what was going on. Sakura-chan, who told you that Naruto was a threat? The Hokage inquired, making sure to read her expression for signs of deceit. It was counselors Mitokado and Udatane, Hokage-sama. Sakura answered. Hiruzen was floored. His former teammates wanted Naruto dead. True, they were never his biggest supporters, but why have him killed? Why now, after all of the time that has passed? Homura-kun, Koharu-chan, why are the two of you trying to eliminate Naruto-kun? Hiruzen decided to get to the bottom of things, but first he had to deal with Team 7. Now, that complicates things a bit. But, I will delve into that later. For right now, we need to deal with the matter at hand, you three. Right now, you should consider yourselves very lucky that Naruto survived this, or I would be having you, he pointed to Sakura while saying this, immediately executed for murder. I would have you, he pointed at Kakashi this time, stripped of your rank and have that eye of yours removed, and I would have you, he finally pointed at Sasuke, reporting back to the academy for remedial training, since it is clear that there are still some things that you need to learn about being a shinobi. All three had the good sense to look ashamed at the moment. Hiruzen sighed for the umpteenth time today. As it stands, however, I cannot afford to lose any potential ninja right now. Our forces are still nowhere near what they were before the Kyuubi attack, and right now we need all the hands we can get. In addition, since Naruto is alive, the most that anyone can be charged with right now is aggravated assault with the intent to kill a fellow ninja of the leaf. This does not mean any of you are getting off easily, however, as all three of you are considered ninja under my jurisdiction now, Sarutobi stated with no hesitancy in his voice. Sasuke Uchiha, since you share the least responsibility out of the three assembled here, your punishment will be the lightest. You will have funds extracted from the Uchiha clan's personal accounts to pay for Naruto's medical expenses. I also would like to give you a fair warning. This test you were a part of nearly resulted in the death of your comrade because of your choices. In a real-world scenario, this could have left you alone or possibly gotten you killed. Let this be a lesson about the importance of your comrades and of the importance of working with others. Sasuke bowed his head in recognition. He knew that the punishment he received was light in comparison to what he could have received, so he was not about to ruin it by running his big mouth. Kakashi Hatake, Hiruzen began, but then noticed that Kakashi was about to take off his headband in resignation. Oh, no, you are not getting off that easily. As I said, I cannot afford to lose Shinobi right now. Kakashi sighed, but froze at the next statement. That being said, I am seriously questioning your skills as a leader. You made serious mistakes that had life-threatening consequences. You gave orders fit only for shinobi of a higher caliber, not newly graduated children. You misread a situation and made mistakes only amateurs would have made, not seasoned veterans. As it stands, your competency is in serious question, Hatake-san. What are you saying, Hokage-sama? Kakashi asked, though he was a little nervous as to what the Hokage was planning. I was getting to that. Since your leadership abilities are in question, and I will not be risking the safety and well-being of another person on such an unstable team, I will be reorganizing Team 7 into a 3-man squad. This will be until such time as you are deemed competent enough to handle a 4th member and your team is deemed stable enough to handle a 3rd teammate. Kakashi was visibly unnerved. This was a greater dishonor than when his father committed suicide when he was younger. His leadership abilities, and by extension his rank as Jonin, was being called into question. Surprisingly enough, Kakashi accepted this. He knew he screwed up, big time, and that if Naruto had died, chances were he would be in even worse shape than he was now. He could handle this. He already had a growing list of failures, but he would work to make this one right. As for you, Ms. Haruno, Hiruzen declared, you are fortunate that I cannot execute you for assault. That being said, your confession disturbs me, as you are implicating my former teammates in a conspiracy to kill your classmate. It is also applied by what you said that some serious laws have been bypassed for this to occur. For that, I cannot fully fault you. But, I need to make it clear that what you did was against the law, even if you were persuaded to do so. Therefore, I am going to have Anbu take you to the interrogation and torture unit headquarters for questioning by our top interrogator Ibiki Morino, as well as a mind dive by one of our top interrogators. If what you said has any merit, then you will be released back into the custody of your sensei. You will then be accompanied by a pair of Anbu of my choosing to monitor your activities within the village for the next year. If, after that time has passed, it is decided that you are no longer a threat to others, your team will have a third member join. However, I will inform the two who will be tailing you that they are to execute you on site if it is shown that you are about to pull a stunt like this again, so I would advise you to be on your best behavior. If, and this is crucial, you are found to be lying to me, you will immediately be executed for treason and attempted murder. Am I clear, Haruno? Sakura could only nod her head in recognition. Her punishments terrified her. This wasn't supposed to be like this. She was supposed to kill Naruto, have the elders overlook it as a misguided order by her sensei, have Sasuke-kun's mind wiped clean so that he didn't remember anything, and then live happily ever after as his wife. She realized just how much trouble she was in. This could have jeopardized her career and almost forfeited her life. She felt ashamed that she was so easily blinded, but also knew that she had a lot to be thankful of. She had a long road ahead of her, and any mistake she could make could get her killed. But, if it meant that she could be trusted again, she would do it. Not to mention, she would probably never be looked at the same way again. I would advise you all to consider what I have said here. I am being rather lenient considering the circumstances, but things could be worse for all of you. Consider carefully what has happened here and learn from it. Hopefully, in time, Naruto can learn to trust the three of you again. For your sakes, I hope he does. You are all dismissed. Anbu, please escort Sakura to T&IHQ, please. The third ordered. With that, two Anbu, one in a turtle mask and the other in a bull mask, shunshined into the office and took Sakura. Kakashi and Sasuke bowed in respect and left the office. Hiruzen rubbed his temples to try and numb the ensuing migraine he was getting. Well, at least that is one problem out of the way. Now, it is time to move on to other business. He then asked his secretary over the intercom to send Kurenai in. Kurenai was a little nervous. She had seen Kakashi and Sasuke walk out of the Hokage's office without their pink-haired teammate, and each was supporting a look of acceptance on their faces. It was not very comforting to the Genjutsu expert. So, it came as no surprise that she was apprehensive about meeting with the Hokage directly after Team 7. Hopefully, he is in a better mood now than he was earlier, thought Kurenai. She bowed in respect before taking a seat, which was offered to her by the Hokage. I don't mean to be rude, Hokage-sama, but why am I here? Straight to the point, I see, stated Hiruzen with a smile, before setting his face in a serious mask. First, can you please reiterate why your team was spying on Team 7? I just need some clarification. Of course, Hokage-sama. As I stated, my team's test was to spy on another team and gather recon without getting caught. As a tracking team, it would be an invaluable skill to be able to gather info on a target before capture so as to ensure success. I let my team pick which team they wanted to spy on. They chose Team 7 after hearing rumors about how many teams Kakashi has failed. They wanted to know how someone could fail so many teams. So, we hid at the training grounds they were using, and started to gather intel about the team in question. I believe we all know how that ended up. There was a long pause after the explanation, which did nothing for the red-eyed woman's nerves. After a few tense minutes of waiting and watching the Hokage analyze her words, Kurenai decided to speak up. Hokage-sama, is my team in trouble? Did we do something wrong? She may have only been a Jonin for about a year now, but even she didn't know if something was wrong. Seeing the worried look on her face, Hiruzen yet again let out a sigh. I apologize, Kurenai. This has not been a very good day for me and frankly, Dealing with Team 7 has tried my patience. I apologize. There's nothing to apologize for, Kurenai. You and your team were well within your rights to do what you did. It is a little unorthodox to spy on another team, since they are usually considered private practices. But, you do have a point in that your team would need to show skills at gathering intelligence in order to be successful trackers. Besides, if you and your team had not been there, there is a chance Naruto would have died. For that, I thank you. Hiruzen watched as she let out a breath he was sure she didn't know she was holding. In fact, Naruto is the reason I wished to talk to you. At her questioning glance, he continued. As you may be able to guess, I removed Naruto from Team 7's roster. I cannot in good conscience leave Naruto on a team where his life would be at risk. As Hokage, it is my responsibility to ensure that he would have a chance to become a skillful shinobi in a relatively safe environment. Therefore, I removed him in the hopes that he will be able to be put on a team that will be able to grow without fear of assassinations or attacks by his own teammates. He waited to see what Kurenai's reaction would be. Fortunately, he didn't have to wait long. That's all fine and good, Hokage-sama, but what does this have to do with me and my team? Sharp as ever, I see. Well, since Naruto has been pulled off of Team 7's roster, I need him placed somewhere. He cannot be a freelance ninja at his rank, and by law he can only be put under the tutelage of a full Jonin rank ninja. There would certainly be choices I could make of some, but most of the candidates that I feel could take him on as a student either are not of the correct rank or have other responsibilities. I fear that giving him his own Jonin sensei would cause havoc on the council, probably arguing favoritism towards him. The only other person qualified to take him on as a student by himself currently is running a spy network that is too important to the village for him to give up. That leaves the senseis that have already passed this year's Genin. Maida Guy would be a good choice for him, but I fear that there is little Guy would be able to teach Naruto, since his taijutsu style pretty much requires an early start, and he doesn't have any jutsu that Naruto could learn without access to the 8 celestial gates. My son Asuma could take him, but he is already training the next Inoshika-cho trio, and adding Naruto to the mix would just be adding a fifth wheel to an already balanced team. There is nothing he could offer the trio that isn't balanced out or compensated elsewhere. Therefore, I want you to become the leader of Konoha's first ever 5-man squad. Kurenai was stunned. To lead a 5-man squad was a huge responsibility. The Hokage was basically implying that he trusted her enough to handle 4 genin on her own. Her, a newly appointed Jonin with little experience as a sensei to begin with, was being trusted with this. She was honored, to say the least. But, a nagging question plagued the back of her mind. But what could Naruto offer my team, or better yet, what could we offer him? We aren't exactly combat specialists, he doesn't exactly have any tracking skills, and I can't exactly teach him any ninjutsu, since my specialty is in genjutsu. I thought about that, Kurenai, Hiruzen stated. He wasn't called the professor for nothing, after all, and he had anticipated that question beforehand. What Naruto can offer your team is muscle. As it stands now, Kiba is really the only heavy hitter on your team. His reliance on his senses in battle could hinder him in the long run. If you were forced into a combat situation and Kiba were to be indisposed due to a loss of his hearing or sense of smell, your team could be in trouble, since neither Hinata nor Shino are combatant types. Naruto, on the other hand, with his mass of shadow clones, which he could use for tracking and recon as well as training, could become a one-man army that could give you enough time to escape or be able to formulate a plan. He could give your team a much-needed fighter that would otherwise need to be compensated through other means. Kurenai couldn't argue with the logic. The point about Kiba had merit. When she asked for the team, she had not built it with combat in mind. She could see how being forced to fight could lead to a disaster on her part. Plus, Sarutobi did point out that shadow clones were first used for infiltration, so they could be used as a form of intel gathering. No matter how she looked at it, everyone benefited. I accept this responsibility, Hokage-sama. I will not disappoint you. I know that you won't, Yuhi-san. Now, I believe you need to meet with your team at the hospital to let them know what is going on, don't you agree? She replied with a smile. I suppose I should. Then go. You are dismissed. She then bowed and left. Hiruzen then turned to the left wall and gazed upon the picture of his successor, Minato Namikaze. I hope I am beginning to amend for the mistakes I have made, Minato-kun. With any luck, this experience will make Naruto a better ninja, and hopefully a better person. As the meetings were going on at the Hokage's office, Team 8 and Naruto were engaged in some light-hearted conversation about various topics of little importance. It was then that Shino decided to ask the question that had been bothering him since Naruto returned from the brink of death. Naruto-san, I have a question for you. I have noticed that my Kikaichu seem to react rather peculiarly when around you, to be more specific, around your chakra. Is there a reason for that? I know it may not be our place to know, but that combined with your healing rate indicate an outside source. Naruto stiffened. That was the one question he didn't want to answer. Ever since he found out about the fox, his biggest fear was of how people would react to living with him. On the one hand, he could cover it up with a lie. But, for one reason or another, he didn't really want to lie to them. Plus, someone would eventually find out anyway, either by looking at his chakra, or some other way. Not to mention, having a near-death experience made him realize how important it was to find true friends. As an added bonus, these people saved his life. Naruto realized pretty soon after he woke up that the blurs in the eyes that he had seen belonged to the three people standing in front of his bed. Naruto didn't have many people that would put their lives on the line to save his life. No one had done that before, except for Iruka. No one had ever cared before if he lived or died, so why did they? He knew that there was something different about the three of them. It was then that he decided that these people were truly his friends. As his friends, he realized, they had a right to know about him. They had a right to know his darkest secret. Even if they hated him afterwards, he had a gut feeling that told him to entrust his secret to the insect user, dog ninja, and quiet young woman. So, with a heavy heart, Naruto began his explanation. Do you guys remember what we were told about the Kyuubi no Yoko? Yeah, but what does that have to do with anything? Kiba asked, but was nudged by Shino to stay quiet and pay attention. Well, we were not told the whole truth. At their questioning glances, Naruto continued. I mean, think about it. The Kyuubi was powerful enough to level mountains and create tsunamis with the flick of its tail, and yet one man was able to take it down when an entire army couldn't land a scratch. It doesn't make sense. The trio stared wide-eyed. What Naruto said made perfect sense. How could the fourth Hokage kill something that powerful? That's when they realized that no one had ever told them how the fox was killed. Before their thoughts could run wild, Naruto went on with his explanation. The truth is, the fourth Hokage, for as powerful as he was, could not kill the fox. It was too powerful. So, he had to do the next best thing. He had to seal the fox into something. An animal or container would not have been strong enough, and an adult would have died when his system couldn't take the strain. So, he took a newborn infant and used a forbidden technique to seal the Kyuubi into the baby. Naruto, you tell this as if you know this personally. How is it that you know all of this? Shino asked. Rather than vocalize his answer, Naruto got out of his hospital bed, rather slowly by his standards since he was still sore from his attack. He lifted his gown to reveal his stomach. He built up enough chakra to make the seal visible. I know, because I was the child used in the sealing. I am the container of the nine-tailed fox. Naruto then lowered his face, so as not to see the looks on Team 8's face. He waited for the rejection, the hatred, the fear that he knew such news would bring. The room was silent for a few minutes while Shino, Kiba, and Hinata assimilated the information. It was a bit of a shock to believe that someone like Naruto, who always had a smile on his face and seemed to be an idiot and a dead last, was the container of the most powerful monster to ever attack the Hidden Leaf Village. Kiba was astounded that Naruto could be sane, holding back something like that. Hinata was in tears, thinking about the burden that Naruto had to go through. She remembered how he was treated when she saw him around town when she was younger, and now things were starting to make sense to her. However, it was Shino that made the first move. He walked over to Naruto and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Naruto, I perhaps more so than most, can somehow relate to what you are going through. How, do you ask? Because I too know what it is like to be isolated from my peers for something that was placed inside of me without my consent. My insects tend to drive people away from wanting to get to know me better. If anyone can even begin to understand what you are going through, I believe I can come close. Naruto snapped his head back up at a speed that most would think wouldn't be humanly possible. He looked towards Shino, surprised that he wasn't running away from the demon brat. Kiba was the next to speak. Man, dude, how you aren't some psychotic murdering bastard with something like that, I will never know. Dude, I can't even imagine what you had to go through. Damn. It was Hinata's words that brought Naruto on the verge of tears. Naruto-kun, if anything, this makes you all the more admirable. To be forced with such a burden, and to CC continue to smile, just shows how strong a person you are. With that, she walked over and gave Naruto a hug. I can't imagine it was easy to see confide in us with why your secret. We are sorry we pressured you, Naruto-kun, but we are thankful you trust us enough to share your burden. After her heartfelt speech, Kiba and Shino decided to join in. Even Akamaru jumped up on Naruto's lap after he sat back down on the bed and gave Naruto a slobbering kiss. For Naruto, it was unlike anything that he thought it would be. He never expected acceptance when he told his greatest secret. For him, the acceptance of these three people was the beginning of a new path for him. Now, he knew that even if the rest of the village never acknowledged his existence, he knew he would always have friends in this trio of oddballs.